There we go. Okay, so today we're gonna really discuss the move. We'll start off with Meredith and Anna being able to give us a quick update about the relocation of our business offices, and then Amy and Anna can update on where we are with the move overall. Then we'll hand off to you and Dan, Meredith, to do state of the business. I've got a COVID-19 update for us all, and then we'll hand off to Casey and Matt and Amy to talk about programming. Early on, we want to do a little bit of recognition, but we need those people to be on before we do that. So I'll jump in when I know they're on. So Meredith, you want to start us off?
Yes. Well, Anna probably has the better update.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been at the Pure site this week because of our little COVID scare. But last I checked in, everything was moving well, getting the programming site set up at our new 6th Street location. I did just send a note to Ben, Michelle, Kayla, and Jennifer about the administrative side, and I apologize, that should have gone out earlier this week or even late last week. So we do have movers scheduled to get desks, file cabinets, and any boxes moved to the Appleton site on Saturday, the 28th. In fact, check my date for me. I think it's the 28th of Saturday. So I know that that's new information to you guys, but if we can get as much packed out of your file cabinets, the movers will move them for you, but I think that you should try to box up the contents. So then beginning next week, the administrative team will be at that Appleton site. I did put the details in several places. It's on our website. It was in some payroll inserts. And then I also got some information out again to Kayla, Ben, Michelle, and Jennifer just a couple of minutes ago. Jennifer has keys to issue for the Appleton site. So Jennifer, I don't know if you have a plan for getting those out or if you're already doing that.
I don't
Jennifer,
have yep, I'm here. I don't have a specific plan for issuing keys, just, as I see people, I'll get them to sign a new
Okay.
property release form, just changing it over DPR keys to Appleton keys. And the plan, Kayla and I are planning on packing up most of the office Wednesday and Thursday. So we will have that stuff ready to go Friday afternoon.
Okay. So if you need keys issued to you, just go see Jennifer. We're going to have the landlord for the Pier site walk through tomorrow. And I told him that we would give him as many keys, Jennifer, as we have, that we give them back to him. So I don't know if you have a stash of keys somewhere, but I can just return what we have. And then on the 31st, we'll just give him the balance, whatever else we have left.
Yeah, I do have a gallon Ziploc baggie that I've been throwing everything in. So I've got quite a few, and some of them are labeled like the Harry Potter closet and whatnot. So I do have most of them ready to go, except for everybody that still has a key that are coming and going right now.
Perfect.
Can our key lockbox that's in De Pere right now, are we moving that to Appleton?
Yes, that's one of those little details that keeps popping up.
Yeah.
So I will make a point to double check that that gets removed before we officially check out on the 31st. Yes, I'll handle it. Yeah. I'm assuming it's just screwed into the wall, right?
That's what I'm thinking too.
I can help you with
that,
Anna.
Yes.
Okay.
But that way, in the admin office, we'll always have one master key to everything, and it won't be accessible to 85 employees that take it and don't give it back to Jennifer or whoever. So
you want that at the Appleton site, correct?
I would put that at the Appleton site. I would lock one master up of everything. You're still going to need access in De Pere, right? So somebody in De Pere is still going to have to, well, will they? They should have extras.
Yeah, Well, we'll bring that back up, I guess. There'll be a conversation probably late next week, just about general of the sites, because obviously we've gotten accustomed to having our those contract. We just temporarily pause that in De Pere until we get established and figure out what we need. So we just want to make sure that everything's still being handled. So I'll add that conversation to the agenda for our kind of building and maintenance discussion. I think that was most of the update. Are there any questions from anybody about the new sites or the move?
So without a lot of detail, everybody kind of knows where they're going to the new site or to the Appleton site or Shawano site.
Yeah. Yeah. So Shawano was left alone. We didn't do anything with Shawano. And then all of the programming staff moved to 6th Street. So Matt and Ken, Walter, and Amy have been working really hard, and Casey, to get that site set up, and it's looking really great. So Appleton's site is already established as an office. So we might need to be do-si-doing some furniture around just to get people reestablished there, but it is a functional office already. So it should be pretty easy to get that place up to speed. Jennifer, I know that we were talking about fax lines, internet, all that good stuff. All that's underway. I won't bore everybody with those details, but we'll have a fax line at each site. The administrative fax line, the existing one, will stay in Appleton, or we'll move to Appleton, I should say.
And one of the things, Anna, that this group, just keep in mind that if anyone ever asks you, our business office is located in Appleton. And so the business office houses HR, finance, foster care, training, right? And so just in case anyone ever asks, what it will do for us, which is different than before, is we have a lot of distraction with a lot of distraction of our admin team, right, on that side, because kids are in and out, and it actually lends to some of the behaviors we see and some of the complaints in the investigation. So it's really very interesting how this move will separate that for us. It's also thinking about future foster care visits from the state. They're not that clearly they've been here 100 times, right, Amy? And they never had anything to say until recently. But now when Clint comes, Michelle, he'll be at the Appleton space. And I think that just gives a good separation. So.
Are they afraid of our kids?
Well, I don't know, Ben, but they've been there 100 times in 10 years and never took issue. So how many times have we all seen Clint?
Yeah.
Walking around. So anyway.
The thing that we know, and I've reinforced this, is that it's convenient for staff to be able to stroll over and ask Kayla a quick question if they have a problem with payroll or getting that timesheet turned in at the last minute. So we're going to need to be really more vigilant about process of what timesheets get in there. And Jennifer is going to make an effort, probably bi-weekly, to appear at Shawano and De Pere, so that there's the staff feels supported, park herself there and work there, and that will enable us to, just have that presence of someone on a regular basis.
Does that mean we're eliminating the PO box address? Are we going to use Appleton for that?
No, we'll hang on to the PO box.
Yeah, we'll have to figure out, and we will, what that looks like. But with Jennifer going there or Kayla going there, certainly any mail that comes in to the De Pere post office, anything that has to get to Appleton can get there. But I want you to keep in mind, when somebody has a last minute check or there's something with their payroll, they can't just run over to the other side. I mean, it's a trip to Appleton. So it's going to force people to think differently about, I think, deadlines, what they're turning it, because there just isn't going to be the option for Kayla to cut a check last minute.
Well, I would just say too, first of all, we have plenty of technology that if somebody needs to talk to somebody and see them, I mean, they can do that. I mean, like
Right.
we're doing that now. So I think that we need to reinforce that we can stay connected in lots of different ways. The second thing, what I heard is that we are going to have some key leadership in the De Pere office, so it isn't going to be like anyone's, kind of abandoned or whatever, So I'm confident in all of you here on the call, in your leadership skills in whatever, positions you're in, whatever office you're in, that if somebody has a need, that they can go to you and that you can either steer them in the right direction or that you can represent them with a call or whatever. So it's a change, but that doesn't, from my perspective, doesn't have to be a bad thing. So.
Also, just kind of to Matt's point, I think that we're going to need to develop some kind of like mail run system, because our physical mailing address is still going to be De Pere. But just to get, if there's forms that need to go to the Appleton site, we don't need everybody from De Pere coming to Appleton or vice versa. So there'll likely be a mailbox at De Pere for things that are going to Appleton, and then one person can pop in and just grab everything that needs to go there. So that'll be part of that kind of building maintenance discussion as well. Anything else? Okay, I think that's it for the move.
Anything with the state that we need to do as far as like foster care, the I don't know what we can call that, where the files are kept.
Amy was going to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to reach out to Clint now that I have an end date and just let him know, and I'll copy Michelle in on it, and we'll tag team figure out how to get that done.
Okay, thank you.
Before we jump into that, I know we're juggling around some schedules today. And so we typically hold recognition to the end of the meeting, but we wanted to kind of move that up a little bit today. So if we can shift that to the top, Meredith, I think that we have our honorees on the line now.
Yeah. Yeah, hold please, Tammy. Talk about something else for a minute while I get set. Wasn't ready.
Okay, well, I'll let you get ready. Well, Amy,
Thank you.
You've got the mailroom set up. I had a couple of other questions about just the move for programming, and we start there on September 1st, correct? With kiddos, and programming will actually be at 6th Street, right?
Correct. Education will start out of the new building.
Okay. That's helpful to know as we, try to coordinate supervision and thinking about how we'll schedule that with Dan. So there'll be more to come on that, so we should prepare for that to happen at 6th Street next week, right? Since that would be on Tuesday. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, we can.
Does anybody have a copy of the new lease for 6th Street or where rent checks are supposed to be sent or anything?
I'll get to that too, Kayla.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And have all the insurance companies been notified of like any liability or anything for the new buildings?
I haven't taken care of anything like that. I don't know if Jennifer has gone over anything.
Jennifer, I thought I emailed about the new address to get on the liability insurance. Is Jennifer with us still?
She is with us, but her new little puppy has his first visit at the vet today. So since she's a new mommy, she may have everything turned off. So I'll make a note. We'll follow up on that.
Okay. Yeah, I think that I had sent her the address to get our new property added to the liability insurance and to remove Packerland effective 8/31. So that should be in place already.
Any other contract stuff that we need to be aware of that has our address on it.
Well, so we,
Contracts that we
yeah.
send out to the counties.
Need to update the WPS logs also, so, because they always ask for our service locations, so I'll need to change the Packerland site to the 6th Street site.
And Kayla, you'll be doing that. I'm just trying to capture.
Oh, yeah.
For us. Okay, great.
Yeah, I got the WPS like original sheet. Like I know when I had to add like Rock County onto it, it had all of our locations. So I will remove, I think, the old Nina site also and just have Shawano 6th Street. And I think that's really it then, correct? For our
Well, we're gonna need
locations.
for actual locations, yeah, but what about like a community location? Like if like, where would you consider that Iron Elk or Mike Loren does services?
Right, and that's why I didn't remove the Nina site when I was in there earlier this year, because I'm like, well.
They're still
I might
messing
do
anything
that.
up.
they're still
Do we
based
do the
out of,
Appleton site?
no, they would be based out of De Pere because that's where we do programming. So if there was a time that they needed to bring a kid to programming, they wouldn't bring them to the Appleton site, they'd bring them to De Pere. So we should really list that one. We should take the Nina one off. That's not a physical location we own. So if
Right.
anyone were to go to check or they looked up on the registry and saw that that was the listed address, we don't rent that or lease it anymore. So we should really take that one off.
It should be,
So Amy, as we dive into mobile programming, how will that change, right?
Well, we
Because
still have to have a center site. So if De Pere is still going to be the center site, that would still be the programming site that someone would go to if they needed food or
okay,
whatever. So we'd still leave that as the physical site.
and I actually think that WPS is creating a new, like a new modifier code for this purpose. There was an email about it last week. Something of, but this is what it was for. It was literally remote locations that they're looking to see what, you know, people are just doing. Like you said, Mike Lorenz, he doesn't go to a physical site, but he's off in the community. So they're starting to kind of track that themselves. So there will be certain things that we will start to see after September 1st that I will have to add an extra modifier to on those locations.
yay.
Yep.
Do you remember when we started, we didn't even know what a modifier was?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Ugh.
Good. Are you, is that a long enough commercial break, Meredith?
Yes, you guys covered for me very well. Thank you so much. And our recognition is brought to you today. So if you guys remember the very first coordinators meeting, Casey and I gave out the culture and the MVV award. Interesting, neither of those people are with us anymore. I'm so sorry. So we took a break month 2. Last month we didn't hand them out because it was right in the midst of everything kind of coming down. And I think it wouldn't even have been fair to have a clear head. But I think really what's transpired over the last, gosh, how long is it now? 90 days or 60 days has given us the opportunity to dive back in and take a look at those of us that are left on board and really take a look at how are we still carrying through the mission, vision, values, and how are we still making sure that our culture is the culture that we worked so hard to build. And so there was the director group that kind of talked through who would they nominate, who do they think should get it. And so I will just share with you that, hold on, please. Okay. That Amy nominated, and we all agreed that this individual absolutely was deserving of the culture. Without saying who it is, every time I think any of us see this individual, they are advocating, they are smiling, they are engaging with the kids or making the staff feel good. This individual has just made advocates their home for their journey with us. A lot of people turn to this individual. He's very respected, highly regarded by peers, team members, and staff. Definitely great in crisis and really has proven to be able to work with any of our clients. So it was a unanimous vote that we all agreed that Walter, we are so grateful for you and what you do for our culture. And we've been so blessed to have you with us since day one.
Nice, Amy. Thank you, guys.
I remember.
Thank you.
I remember going through the hiring process with you, Walter. Do you remember, Anna? It was you and I, Casey and Dan. We were like talking through everything. And I think it feels like so long ago, and then it feels like yesterday. But thank you for all of your hard work. You have not sneezed at anything we've asked you to do. And I have to tell you that was a really hard thing for advocates for a long time. There were a lot of individuals who really only wanted to do what they were hired to do, you know, in the times that they were to do it the way. And you have just shown us, I mean, you're like the moving crew, the cleaning crew, the maintenance guy, the manager, the urgent response. You probably answer phones. I'm sure you've been to the mailbox. I don't know if anyone sent you to the bank yet, but thank you so much for just doing that, because obviously you can see that's very important. So.
All for the mission, Dan. That's what we're here for.
That's what we're here for.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Anna, what do you have for Walter?
Huh?
Walter, you'll get a $100 swag certificate in your payroll this week. High five.
Hey!
Yay.
Jenny saw that,
You're not allowed to spend it yet, though.
No,
Well-
actually, Walter, between you and I, cash that puppy in today. Find older receipts, staple it, get it in, and get your check. Okay, honey?
And we're hoping that you'll buy Mackenzie a bike with that.
Exactly, right?
I was gonna say that Paul Sanson's pair of shoes.
She was talking about it. Where is it? It was here.
You'll still have $60 left over. All right. Well, moving on to our mission, vision, and values. And perhaps, Walter, you guys can go in halvesies with your share swag on Mackenzie's bike. So it doesn't all have to fall on you. But this individual, I am so pleased because the individual was actually nominated by Michelle, but I know that it was unanimous as we talked about it. And I know that even people who weren't a part of the decision would have completely agreed with this. But what we've seen is a complete level of commitment from this individual, and the commitment and the drive, it really becomes contagious. Strong leadership skills, builds rapport with staff and clients, even clients that other individuals really struggle with working with. Lots of flexibility, and super evident that this individual has both kind of the education and some live life experience that has made him such a great fit. So congratulations to Kyle from Share Academy, who is this month's earner of our mission, vision, values.
Well, thank you very much. I'm honored for that.
Are you doing something nefarious that we can't see your face?
I just ran in from outside and I got pretty wet. It's raining. So I apologize. I'm off camera right now. I'm usually always on camera. Thank you,
Yes.
guys.
You're welcome. Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you.
Well, you guys will get your share certificates in your paycheck, and thank you again. So I think this is a good spot for us to move to just the state of the business and update on the investigation. Dan, I don't know if you want to lead that, or Meredith, or together. I guess y'all are doing that.
Well, I just, I'll be brief on this. We have, there's a group of us that have met with the attorneys, and there's a hearing. We just found out there's a hearing next week, or whatever they call it. It's a preliminary thing. And so we're going to be a group of us will be putting information together to respond to some of the bullet points that have come up. And so I'm guessing by the end of next week, we should have the next update on what's all going on. So I'm I'm just gonna continue to say we're good people doing good work, and that's all that we're going to talk about. You know, that's our presentation basically. You know, so
To the outside, yeah.
right. You know, I think there are obviously things that we need to own within that process, and I'm guessing that at some point in time we're going to be, you know, that will be our challenge is to own those specific things to like, you know, manage our affairs differently. But that will become clearer. But in the meantime, I think one of the things that I would say to us is, you don't need somebody to tell us what we need to do different. I think we know that. We know where we're strong, we know where we fall down, and that's stuff that we should already be on top of. So I guess the question will be, you know, what kinds of things might we be allowed, you know, to continue with moving forward. And I think that's I think the second part of my state of affairs would be, you know, we've got current programming that we're doing. And I know, Matt, you and your team are working hard to pull together the startup of the education program. We've got a handful of kids and the confidence, I guess, from those school districts that we are not the things that people have, you know, may have said. And I think that as the year rolls on, maybe weeks roll on, more people will come on board. But so obviously our OHC process is a bit on hold. The CBS portion we're working on. There are some aspects of it that we're currently doing, but we're working on a new presentation, a new process. Casey and Meredith are putting the final touches on that, and we've got Winnebago County, which is interested in helping us pilot that. And then we've got a finance team, which is monitoring our affairs pretty closely because we're running with a very thin margin, close to no margin. So it's just important that we you know, pay attention to that. But I think, Meredith, you said something, and I want to say this to the rest of the team, and I can feel it in myself. You know, I mean, this is a stressful period of time, but our heads are getting clearer, and I think that's what we need. You know, we need to kind of pause, take a breath, again, own what we need to own about this, but we also need to move forward. You know, we can't just sit. You know, so whatever the kinds of things we can do to continue to move forward, the needs of these kids have not gone away, and if anything, you know, we can name each child individually. We can see the challenges that the system has had to engage in order to find solutions, you know, for every one of those kids. And a lot of what I'm hearing from a solution perspective is not pretty, which is really unfortunate for those kids. So I'm hoping that process may open a door for a conversation around, okay, like how did we do this? How were we doing this? So we need to maintain clear heads, and I think the probably the most important thing is that we're a good team, and we need to turn to each other. Don't assume anything. If you have questions, ask the questions. If you don't know who to ask that should be your first question. But if there's a need, I don't want us to back away from it. Doesn't mean that we can respond to it, but I do want us to continue to answer calls, answer letters. I mean, every day I get a message that somebody is looking for something and looking for us specifically to respond to it. So the needs continue, and we're going to need to keep ourselves prepared and creative, maybe different ways on how we can respond to that. So.
Dan, I just want to share that not everyone has been privy to reading basically the investigative report that they put together about advocates. Some of us have been privy to it. Obviously, the attorneys have. Those of you that are still doing the programming piece, working with clients, working with kids, this really is a time for you to shine. It's a time for you to do the box checking, do the paperwork, make sure we're following our processes, continuing to engage in our model specifically because we know that that's what works, but just being a little bit more aware that a lot of what the complaints are surrounded by is actually a lot of it is surrounded just from an admin perspective. So it's a lot less of what I thought it would be, like, individual workers being identified as some sort of mistreatment of the children. That really isn't what that was. So those of us that are going to continue to be in those roles, we really need to be committed to this is the process, this is how we're going to do it. If you have 10 education clients, it's got to go really seamlessly for those 10, right? So that we can go back and gain the trust of the other schools. I can tell you that one of the number one things that schools and counties are relying on is other schools and counties doing business with us. It's a question they continue to ask, and if Casey were on, he would confirm. So they keep asking, well, who else is sending their kids? So I've realized that that's very important to them because they feel like if they're not the only county sending kids, right, or they're not the only school sending kids, somehow that's justified for them. So I know that a really big piece of regrowth is going to be not just our current county relationships, but referrals. Right. And I think we're going to end up seeing some new type counties come through who weren't a part of all of it. But so those of us that are still doing it, and then those of us that work on the pilot program, that'll look a little different. We are filing any and every appeal on any and all cases that we can. Now I say that blanketly, there's only 2 things happening right now, but just so you guys are aware, when we read it, I will tell you that 50% of it is we stand behind it. It's the way we operate. So what they're challenging is our model. They're not challenging whether or not we did good or we're good people. They're challenging our model. And I think, Dan, that's become more clear to us. And you and I talked about it 4 years ago. We said, they're going to come at us at some point, and this is what they did. So those of you in any sort of leadership position, I really want you to start using language like peer specialist model, because that's really what we were running before they labeled it peer specialist. It's live life people working with kiddos who are having the same kind of experience. So the other thing, what was the other one that we said? Well, that is our model. That's what we're doing. But it's like, oh, families first. Obviously we've been on the forefront of that. And then we were just reading some articles recently how they're toting respite care being done by essentially lived life people. So I want you to know that like all of the stuff that they took issue with is like a lot of the stuff that made our model work. And so I think we were hoping we were going to get all these like outlandish claims that we were going to be able to easily prove and just like move on. But it's more like Dan and Casey and I were talking yesterday, right? And we said, yeah, like keep digging my heels in even more, because it really is based around their idea of what our model should be, yet nobody's ever been able to figure out how to work with these kiddos. So it's interesting. Now we just got to get them to see it that way and get them to join with us as opposed to trying to shut us down. So. That's it, Tammy.
Okay. Any questions? Now's a good time, especially, as coordinators, think about questions that may come to you. And if you're not clear on how you would respond, now's a good time to brainstorm any of those things.
One of the things, and Michelle, I have to apologize because, I just got a call like half hour before I jumped on here. And I keep sending, people looking for referrals. I keep sending them to you, and I'm sure, you're like, well, not much you could do. But I guess I would like us maybe to explore maybe a different way that we could answer some of those questions. So in other words, one of the things that I was working with Manitowoc around, they kept saying, we don't have any placement for these kids, but the truth was they did. They just didn't have confidence in them. And so I kept saying, keep the child with the family, or keep the child in that particular home, or whatever the situation is, and let us build a village around them. We can still do that. And so when we get calls, people saying, we're calling, because it sounded like they were calling us specific, like they were getting turned down. That if there's an opportunity for another placement that we can surround, that's how we can grow our business. And actually, that is probably a healthier model than us taking a child and removing them from someplace, even for foster care. So I would say, maybe a small group of us need to meet and talk about how we might be able to respond, differently to some of these referrals that are coming in. So I would like to propose that we do that.
Just to add a note, I did get a call today from a caseworker in Black River Falls with a referral, and I, had the conversation that we don't currently have any openings, but her question was like, is this a type of kiddo you would serve? So she kind of explained the background and whatever, and I said, absolutely. I said, so keep us on your radar that, absolutely is a kiddo that we would serve, not shy away from. So I think just even that type of communication is helpful, so they know that it's not that we don't serve that population,
Right.
So
Well,
that was more productive than it could have been, I guess.
Yeah. What was interesting, because the lady that I spoke to, and I think this was a tribal person too, but I'm not sure if it's the same person. But anyway, transgender, she was asking about. Same. Okay. Well, anyway, her question to me was, do you work with those types of clients? And I said, my response back to her was, there isn't any client that we don't work with. So I'm not intending to say that we can serve everybody, but what I wanted to say to her was, we're okay with assessing everybody and seeing if there's a potential, so, people who are in desperate situations, so counties, tribes who are in desperate situations, they're looking for any kind of creative response. That's our opportunity. And I think, Casey and Meredith, as we develop this community-based model, that could be how we surround a family, how we surround a foster home, so a response back to this person could be, tell us more about the situation that they're in, and let's talk about, and even if we coach them around them building their own team that we can consult with, there's lots of things that we can still do. And I think the model is a solid model. I think we need to be careful we don't get trapped into thinking, well, this is the way we have to do it. That there's lots of ways that we can still do this. But I would like to sit down with Michelle, with you in a group, and just talk about, how might we craft some ideas around foster care programming, or people who call us about that.
Tammy, you're up.
Okay, I was given that 5-second rule of silence, so we'll say all minds are clear. But I think the one thing I would say as we transition from that is that there's always an answer among this group. So if you're struggling with how best to do something, or wrestling with something, or not understanding, we all need to challenge each other to ask the questions and ask for help. So. Well, I have a great opportunity today to really give you all an update on where we are with COVID, a few policies that are going to be changing and that we need to wrap our arms around and just be, you may need to digest this today, and we're going to allow ourselves tomorrow to really think about any questions we may get. And then we'll be making some announcements to employees. First and foremost, I want to thank Anna. I tell you, Anna has been, in the beginning, Anna was on every one of those crazy COVID calls that we were all just pulling our hair out. And she's by far of our whole team done the work, you know, to really look at what was out there, what was the CDC saying, accessing WAFCA and our partners at Bellin. So as the leadership team has met over time, a couple of things that I'm just so proud of and very thankful to Dan, Casey, Meredith, Pete, that we've agreed on is that when the CARES Act in March, we could have stopped paying COVID pay. And as an agency, because there was still a tax advantage for us, I mean, you know, you all know we have to really look at everything. We chose to continue to pay our staff to be out of work if they had a COVID quarantine. School systems in Coffee County, Tennessee are not doing that. So when my daughter-in-law had to quarantine, she did it without pay. So I think that really has sent a very strong message to our staff that we are behind you. It's also sent a really strong message that safety and that we take it very seriously. We are caring for kids and they've already been through enough trauma. They deserve to be in an environment that is for our best ability to be free of hazard and especially safe from a health perspective. So last year we updated and required the flu vaccine and that went pretty well. And this year we will start being effective this week to make the COVID vaccine mandatory and a condition of employment. Now, in making this decision, we've waited a good long time. We've really been trying to pay attention to what other agencies are doing. We've reviewed many documents and had many long conversations about it, but we feel certain that it's important not only from a staffing perspective for our staff, that they be able to work in an environment that they are feeling confident in, but also for our kiddos. So we will announce this starting on Thursday, and then there will be a reasonable accommodation for any staff member that can request a waiver due to disability, to medical exemption, or sincere religious beliefs. And individuals that are seeking those exemptions will have a form that they will complete. And they can call and discuss these with me if they have any questions, or with Jennifer. And those will need to be submitted by the 1st of October, actually the 4th. And we will allow through October 11th for staff to be able to get their vaccine. We're at about 44% of staff that have communicated to us that they've had their vaccine. Now, I spoke with the staff today. I don't have her record. She goes, yeah, I'm already vaccinated. So we may be at a higher percent than I'm aware of. We will end the communication that will go out to staff, and I'll just quickly share my screen if it will let me. Okay, I wasn't trying to minimize. Got it. Okay. This is the actual communication, and I know this print's a bit small, but there are vaccination sites. So within the communication, staff will be able to click on that and be able to see different sites that are available. The forms will be attached, and Amy, I will ask that we can print some of those forms out and probably hard copy of the letter to be in the mail room. And then Anna will be doing a payroll insert as well, because we know not all of our staff are regularly checking their email. So that'll happen within the next week. We did learn today, thank you, Meredith, for sharing. For those of us on the line that have already gotten our vaccine, it kind of sucks, but Governor Evers, I never know how to say that name. Anyway, the governor of Wisconsin is giving a $100 Visa gift card to anyone getting their first dose of the vaccine. So that is a good thing that we can share.
Tammy, if all of you could go on change.org and sign the petition for the $100 gift card for the booster, I'd really appreciate that. I'm gonna have to go do the booster and I want my $100.
Exactly.
Didn't actually start a petition, but
we'll do a little recognition mid-September. And so another piece of this update is that at the end of September, that COVID pay will end. So we feel very strongly, we don't want people coming to work sick. I actually was back and forth with an individual today, but I'm concerned and I don't know. And I'm like, well, either you can get tested and you can stay out today, even if you don't want to go get tested. Don't feel, because he'd never had to call in. So we will increase from 3 sick days to 5 sick days, because we feel like that will allow for a staff member to be able to be home and even with the vaccination. I mean, Anna shared with you all as the call started. Unfortunately, her family has had some vaccine and has a positive case. So we know that it doesn't prevent you from getting COVID, but it certainly in many cases prevents hospitalization and the terrible news of, very sick people. But we feel like that's a nice way we'll be announcing that, so that there will be 5 sick days versus 3. So that's a little bit of a plus that we'll announce mid-September. And at this time, we're not gonna even focus in on or talk about the flu vaccine. We'll circle back once we get past these deadlines and move into November with a vaccine clinic and the flu shot. So.
And Tammy, do you guys have stats on, I'm curious, I mean, I like the idea of adding the 2 extra sick days, right? But I would be curious, just from a cost perspective, like, what is the stat of how many people have called it? Like, I don't even know that number,
Well, and Meredith, I know you had asked us to provide, what's the average in Wisconsin? What is an average company pay for sick days?
Right.
We do have averages for just our staff, and I don't know those off the top of my head, but I can put that into our summary notes of, on average, how many sick days have been used. We're doing better at tracking that, because I think in the past, if a staff called in and they didn't get paid, we weren't really tracking. So we're doing a bit better about that tracking.
Well, and remember we said that about the unlimited, right, vacation. And so we just wanted to see what those stats would come in. So, but I think you're going to find that people still don't use as many as they get. I mean,
I agree. Okay, so now it's out there. What questions do you guys have? What concerns?
I think my only thought is, for people who struggle with it for whatever reason, and it sounds like, Tammy, you and the group of you have taken that into consideration, and I know that we'll work harder on all that stuff.
Yeah.
I have a sister-in-law who is see, what's the word? Strongly is not strong enough word, against any kind of vaccination, So I have to assume that there's other people out there who have that same kind of a feeling, and we as an agency have landed with this decision, and so I think part of us as a team leadership team is, how do we support each other when staff come to us with any kind of concerns. So
Okay, that is all. Well, no, one other thing. So I don't know if Jennifer's hearing us, but it'll be in the recording. We've had a few staff call us with concerns about their unemployment, and we already had had follow-up plan for them. And then we were made aware of 3 other staff that had communicated otherwise, that they weren't getting their pay. So we spent a good deal of time on Friday with 2 of our staff on a 3-way call, so that they could hear what we hear. And we learned that we were calculating the weeks, how unemployment calculates. They actually count the week that you finish working. So we were not counting that week. So we believe that could be impacting some of our staff. So Jennifer's made a concerted effort to resend that information to unemployment after they explained it. And they hadn't explained that to us before. But in doing that, we agreed today that we found a couple of things that maybe we can give guidance on for all of our employees that are on layoff, whether we're calling them back or not. So we will be sending out a letter this week to anyone that has exited since July 2nd. The first paragraph will just say, we hope your summer's going well. We'll just be, it's really from an effort of, we care about you and here's some information we have. But we will also call employees that are still listed as inactive that we may be calling back, make them aware that a part of employment will be the vaccine, because we want to know that and wish them well if they're not willing. We don't want to keep them on an inactive list. And at that same time, we will be communicating our need to, we're not going to be calling back administrative staff until we can call back all our service specialists. So there's some hard conversations that will happen in the week ahead, but we feel like it's only fair to let people know that, because September 7th, they will lose that additional money from the government for unemployment assistance. So, but I wanted you all to know that we've tried to think through that. If there's anything else you think of that we can improve on in this communication plan, please give me a shout or send me a text. So we'll go to Casey and Matt now and hear about education, and wrap up then with programming. I know Amy and Anna wanted to share a little bit about that. And then if we have time, Meredith, to be able to update us on the mobile programming that you all are proposing. So Casey.
Hi. Matt and I and Cassie have done some good planning. It's really unclear how many kids are going to start with us. The districts are dealing with this information they're getting from DPI all in different ways. Clarence from Clintonville is sending like all his kids. Other people are saying we don't feel comfortable sending any of our kids. We're, I don't know, somewhere around 10 kids. Amy might be able to tell us more specifically, but I feel really good about the program and the structure of the program. With Matt's help, Cassie and I and Matt have really put together a good plan with the structure of the day, which is exactly how I've always wanted it. But people always have their own spin on like overthinking it and dividing it. And Matt the other day was like, it's got to be simple. It's got to be this and this and this. It's like, yes, that's what I like too. That's perfect. So we're gonna have check-in at 9:30. Then there's until lunchtime. After check-in, there's that first block of academic or program time. Then there's lunch, and lunch is individualized. When you have lunch, or a bunch of people could have lunch together, it's flexible. And then there's the after lunch academic period or programming period. Then there's check out at 2:30. That's what we're starting with.
Casey, can the remote clients be a part of check-in?
Yeah, the remote clients should be part of check-in. I don't know who that's going to be to start out with, but over time, yes, if we get more remote clients.
And check-ins for both CBS and education?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, right now, these are check-ins for education, 9:30 and 2:30. If there's any CBS only clients, we would definitely invite them to check in. But I don't know. Right now, currently, I don't know if there's going to be anyone that fits into that category. Cassie's going to be doing a lot of the 30-day assessments and the SEL hours. Matt's going to be doing a couple of the SEL hours. Then after that, there's going to be Alicia and Candace doing SEL hours and the IEP focus time, which is basically SEL time for kids with autism that you're not going to do cognitive behavioral therapy with. You're going to do or problem solutions focused therapy with. You're going to take their IEP goals and try to do whatever you can with the team and with the individual kid to get them to progress. So it's just concerted effort towards IEP progress. The Shawano site is looking really good. There's a bunch of kids out there, and probably almost equal to De Pere. What, Tammy? You got something? I don't understand. What?
So I think Matt's going to tell a little bit about his background and to tell a little more about himself, because maybe everyone doesn't know his story. I mean, everybody knows he has two sets of twins, and that he doesn't have much hair, but that's maybe what.
Yeah, I have 15 years of experience in education, whether it's been parochial, public. I've been an elementary principal. I was in a high school. I got a lot of experience, and kind of to piggyback off what Dan said earlier, and Casey, with our communications with these school districts do trust us. Plain and simple. It's a lot of the red tape that they have their hands tied. This is going to be my first experience going into this program at the beginning of the school year. And, it's kind of almost like we are hitting a reset, a reboot button. We got a new building, new location. Kids will probably be excited that our returnees coming into a new building, but it gives us an opportunity, to kind of structure it the way we want it. As Casey said, simple. I feel like simple is better for these kiddos. You don't want the structure, that they have in the school system. These kids don't want to sit down and be like, all right, it's 9:55, get up, time to go to your next class, let's go. That is a deterrent for them. That is why they're with us, probably some of their behavior that they exhibit. But we've been, that time of the year where we're looking at IEP meetings. And as Casey said, we're going to be focusing on a lot of their goals, their IEP goals, because to be honest, that's what school districts thrive on. They want to see those goals. As ridiculous as some of them sound in terms of like using figures of this student won't, have an outburst 80% of the time. Well, we're going to finagle that. So, we are meeting those goals, and they're seeing that. Appleton is sending Ziggy back. We got a plethora of school districts that, still trust us. And as Meredith said, we just got to step up and, deliver the product that they're looking for. And I think keeping that, open lines of communication with the school districts, the directors of pupil services, and, all the way down to the teachers that we work with and getting their assignments. I can attest, looking forward to not, hopefully, fingers crossed for the most part, not having kids logging in virtually for classes. These kids have a difficult enough time trying to stay focused in a regular environment, let alone a virtual environment. So we're going to kind of tailor their assignments to see how school districts send those, and I can adjust, modify those, and hopefully hitting some of their IEP goals at the same time. But I think you're going to see probably end of September, October, some school districts coming to the realization that they're out in the middle of an ocean in a boat, little dinghy, and they have nowhere to go. And I think that's when they're going to start turning to advocates.
And if Anna's still on, Matt, exactly what you just said, we have talked about doing an open house. I think we weren't ready to do it this quickly, but Anna, maybe we do it end of October, let some of the stuff settle, but then bring the teachers, and the educators to our location.
Maybe we don't call it an open house. Maybe we call it an olive branch or something. It'd be more strategic. We know that U.S. school districts have heard information, and that you're anxious, and that you certainly are accountable to your districts for the care of your kids. We want an opportunity to demonstrate that we care that much to a bunch of kids. their safety is that important to us too. And so I think that, just coming to a building and kind of parading around is one thing. Another thing is, understanding, we understand how that what a big decision it is to say, okay, we're going to give advocates a chance, because what you're saying is we're willing to send a vulnerable child to a program that somebody said, are you sure you want to do that? We need to be that other voice that says that's not accurate. So I maybe that's my 2 cents, that we kind of approach it maybe a little bit different than just an open house.
I think too, having, kind of that, below average number that the organization's used or accustomed to having, I think it gives us an opportunity to build it back up, kind of, I don't want to say we're starting from scratch. We kind of have the bare bones there, but I think it gives us the opportunity to, excel and focus on the clients that we do have, the students that we do have. And, word spreads, so, when people experience, something positive in their life. So I'm not going to say I hope, I think it will happen.
It will. Casey, I was just reading the email you sent about Wrightstown, and unfortunately we live in a world, right, where when there's bad news, it travels faster. So Casey was just sharing with us what they shared with him, that the emails they've gotten from the state and DPI, and again, Casey, what I find so incredibly interesting is there's no like specifics, no allegations. People are just like, oh, I don't know, he's not sending them, so I'm not. And you're like, well, okay. Like when I read that email, it's kind of like, well, I don't want the extra scrutiny, is what you said. But it also is really evident that they're leaning on their partners, their neighboring schools. And so I do find it very disheartening that Claudia is just such a detractor. Yeah.
It is legalities in politics. And I guess, we need to embrace the fact that that's the world we live in. And so again, to your point, Matt, we have an opportunity to demonstrate that that's not true, and so once we do that, that will make it a little bit easier for people to say, well, there's evidence here that this process is working.
Well, and for those of you that don't know this, and Dan, I didn't share this last part with you yet, but our CFO, Pete, and I actually went to grade school and high school together, and our teacher coach was Vicki Byer, who is second in command of Green Bay Public Schools. So I asked Dan if he thought I should reach out to her. Like, we've communicated all these years, so I was this student it's a long story, but anyway, and I'm like, she's got to see my name in this stuff and be questioning it. So we had decided that I would reach out, but then I thought about it and I was like, you know what? There's strength in numbers. So I asked Pete, I said, hey, how would you like to do a meeting with me with Green Bay Schools? Vicki was his coach, also his teacher, and he was highly regarded when we went to school. Like, he was a top student. So Pete agreed, Dan, that he would do that meeting with me. So we're actually going to send her communication and be a little lighthearted about it. And Anna, I can copy you in too, just so we're all on the same page. But we're actually going to ask to meet with her and sit down and go through any questions she might have and address anything that helped them make the decision to not send any kids. And we're just feeling like, more from a personal standpoint, like saying to her, but you've known the two of us for 35 years. There's no way you could subscribe to what they're saying. If you have a COO and a CFO, like, you're the one who taught us. Here's where being a teacher becomes really interesting. Like, you are our teacher, you are coach. So Pete agreed to that, which I just thought there's strength in numbers. So we're going to reach out this week and try to meet with her next week. I don't know what'll come of it, but I just feel like that personal ability to tell the story and say, hold on, like, you didn't even call. Claudia didn't even call Vicki. Like, and that's what I'm going to say to her. Like, I'm a little bummed out that you wouldn't literally Facebook message me when we talk all the time. Like, just message me. say, hey, saw this stuff about advocates. Can we have a conversation? So we're going to reach out to her and ask. But I think it's going to take a lot of that kind of stuff, Matt, like anyone you have a relationship with, anyone, Casey, you have a good relationship with, Amy, Dan, like any of us that have relationships with certain county partners or schools, we're going to have to leverage that. Because the other side is not actually telling them the truth or giving them enough information. It's like, it's elusive. It's like, oh, advocates is scary. We can't really tell you what, but don't send people there. Well,
And Green Bay has been very supportive, and they're all starting to say now the same thing, like, well, this doesn't really make any sense. And it just feels like Caroline's exact words were, it just feels like you guys are being blackballed, is what she said. So at the same time, she's like, I'm not signing up, you did, but I understand being blackballed.
Wait, I missed it because I was.
Yeah, for now they're sending the 2 kids to mocked.
it is gotten to share any of the stories with. I mean, that's why it's so beautiful to be able to do that, because people are like, that's nuts. But I talked to Garvin's mom yesterday, and holy cow, she was telling me that they have a meeting today, Manitowoc, Garvin, Jay, like the whole team. And she said to me, I'm just so angry because it's a witch hunt. It's a witch hunt. And like Garvin's mom just had a ton of information. I've never spoken to the woman, and it's not information that Garvin would have passed on in a educated enough way. The stuff she was saying, she either derived herself or it's being driven to her through Manitowoc, which she had said that Jill Brendamill had a huge fight with Heather Lefebvre, like within the last week, because of Amy. Remember that they said it was a mistake, and it wasn't a mistake. And so Anna's like, Heather lied. She told Jill that the neglect charge for Jay was a mistake and it would be fixed. So Anna, like, yeah, so it was literally a lie. So they charged him, told Manitowoc not to worry about it because it was a mistake, and they just had to change the charge, which is why nobody ever did anything. And then turned around and basically was like, yeah, we lied. We're charging him.
That's why Jill had called me and said he has to appeal it because I don't trust that they're actually gonna change it. And so, and then yeah, Jill did blow up at Heather Lefebvre this week.
Yes. So we are seeing some of these individuals. Beth Roberts is pretty hot about the whole thing. Like they keep doing these meetings and they're like, what are you guys talking about? So
I was part of that Garvin meeting today. They had invited me to attend, so I did join. Jay wasn't on it. It was Stacy, Anna, Jill, and me.
And how did it go?
It was fine. They just wanted, Jill's really pushing for Garvin to do school services at, well, Jill and Anna Knapp are pushing for Garvin to do school services at Advocates. They're looking for a new placement for him, and he'll be temporarily with mom as long as mom can handle him.
So is this another opportunity for us to talk about this mobile program?
Well, Casey and I had already talked about that if he's going to be in Two Rivers, that we would just program him in Two Rivers and not bring him here because that's a lot of travel for no reason. So we had chatted about that this morning. They were asking us if we could be respite resources, and I said no. So I'm not putting ourselves out there right now to be involved in any of that, just knowing that Heather Lefebvre and Brown County have their nose all over Garvin. I'm not. So I said, well, you have to understand that the majority of our respite providers are not feeling comfortable about even providing respite for anybody at this point. But also just knowing the scrutiny that Garvin is going to bring with him with the Brown County pieces. I said, I'm not willing to allow any of our providers to open themselves up to that right now. And they all said they absolutely agreed and they didn't blame us, but, and even Garvin's mom, Anna, she cracks me up. She's like, yeah, I wouldn't do that either.
That's what she said. It was interesting because that's what she said to me when I talked to her yesterday. I said, I am so sorry. I said yes to Garvin. So Dan, I did tell him that my attorney said no. And then when I saw Kevin, I said, tell me no. And Kevin goes, no, whatever it is, no. So I was like, there you go. My attorney said no. She was hot. She's like, yeah, I know you'd take him. And I know he wants to come to your house, but with the witch hunt you guys are under, like those were the words she was using. I actually called Casey after. I was like, that was so interesting that Anna Knapp was verbalizing it in that way. And I don't know why that shocked me so much, but it really like, I don't know how to explain it. Like she said, nobody has ever helped me with my son. She was crying. She said, I have struggled since he was 7 years old, and Advocates is the only place that could help me. It's the only place that can handle Garvin. And I said, well, you got to keep telling the state and the county that. And she said, that's when she told me there was a meeting. She goes, I'm telling them that, like, I can't do this without Advocates. So.
And she did make that very clear today. And all three of the workers that were on the call were like, we're not trying to take Advocates away from Garvin. We really want him to stay there. Since he'll be changing school districts, Anna Knapp was going to reach out to Two Rivers today because he wouldn't ever show up. And so they actually put him in homeschooling so that Anna Knapp didn't get truancy tickets for Garvin not showing up. So they didn't actually think there would be any concern with them allowing Garvin to attend Advocates schooling because it sounds like Two Rivers isn't going to want to deal with him.
So Amy, what you just said is critical. You just said he didn't show up at Two Rivers, so they did homeschooling, which is a technical workaround because the law and the system doesn't support what's best for the child. So that is so critical. Like when I hear those things, I'm like, hold on, these are the things we need to write down and our attorneys need to understand. This stuff happens all over. They just feel so, like it's a county, so they're above the law, right? But for them like to just say, oh yeah, Anna Knapp's gonna homeschool, I mean, that's a complete lie. So you now have a county, and what could that have done from a safety perspective? So that's what I want to say. Well, I don't know, you want to talk about children's safety, you know, like somebody has to be counted on to take care of Garvin because he's not safe with his mom 24 hours a day. Any judge, I mean, anyone would know Anna Knapp's not homeschooling, but that's okay if the county does something like that. Like, again, that's just, what, kid in respite 35 days, no thank.
Oh, the
like,
school did
what?
it. The school did it.
Yeah, the school did it, not the county.
Well, still, we have all of our school districts pulled out because they're worried that we don't turn our notes in.
Mm-hmm.
You lie about children being homeschooled. Like,
Yeah. It's
again,
the same,
it's not a
right? It's the same point, but yeah,
Yeah.
school, yeah.
And counties place kids without knowledge. And all of those things happen in this system. And it's such a lie to operate like Advocates is bad and nobody else is like operating that way. It just doesn't, anyway.
Good update on education. Anything you want to add about any wrap up on education? And Amy, what would you share about CBS before we move to close out?
I just want to share one thing. We just had our De Pere fire inspection here, which we passed. We just have to change one thing. But Anna, just so you know, your name was given as the contact that if the emergency or if the building is burning, they're going to call you to see if they can knock shit down. So just so you're aware.
Knock it down.
Okay. Just knock it down.
You don't have to move that.
Yeah. Otherwise, we passed, and Jennifer and Tammy, I'll send you the report because I think one of you files it for the insurance stuff. So I will make sure you guys get the report. CBS, I would say, I'm still waiting. Cassie and Candace are sending me all of the schedules for the kids once school goes back. We're getting Charlie back, so that's exciting that he'll have after school hours. We're waiting on a couple of kids and their hours. Shauna is just blowing up with kids right now, so that's really amazing, and really a testament to Michaela and Tony because they just are really doing a phenomenal job out there. It was really nice to go out there and see them today and meet with them. Matt, I told them you would go out there as well at some point in the next couple weeks to introduce yourself, make sure they have what they need.
Sorry, Amy. Amy, can I add one thing on that note?
Yes.
Cassie and Matt we're really going to have to support them like now. Josue blew up just today because we're all the commotion and stuff, and that kid, who is it? Riken, was having a rough time because of all the people there today for the IEP meeting, And so I could see it written all over their faces, Tony and Michaela. They're like, you guys caused this. So they're going to start to feel pressure of all the people, all the kids in the meetings and the like. It's not going to be smooth sailing. You know, it was smooth sailing for a long time. So now it's going to be the real deal, and they're not going to like that. So we got to get ahead of that right now. So probably like maybe 2 days a week, if you can swing it, Cassie, be out there to start with. And Matt, make sure, you know, like, need you to get into all the emails and the communications with the school personnel, like Clarence and Kim Klister. We don't want to lean on Michaela and Tony. We want to free them up to do to not have to think, so they can do the great work that they've done with the kids. We don't want to, it's gotten big fast. So now we got to pull it back in, and that's our place right now to shine. Like you're saying, Matt, like that's our place to knock it out of the park. That's it. Shawano. Right now, today, next week, tomorrow. Clintonville's already 2 weeks into the school district. It's go time for Clintonville right now, and Shawano. Shawano is upset because of the COVID thing and lack of communication or whatever. I don't know what the heck happened there, but again, like, I can't emphasize it enough. It'll all crumble real fast if we don't get ahead of it right now. That's it. Sorry, Amy.
No, you're fine.
With school starting up again, guys, I'm gonna need allocations for salary employees, and like if Shawano is gonna be straight education, or if it's gonna be half and half or 3/4 and a quarter, whatever it is. So I just need that in the back of your heads. I still have to cut payroll for 8/30. And then because Labor Day is in a week and a half on the 6th, our next payroll after that is going to be Friday, September 3rd. And that will be from this week. That'll be the 23rd to the 9th. So then whatever the week of September after that, we'll start to have that education and CBS wages start to show back up.
Okay, Kayla, you and I can work on what the allocations will be, because Matt and Casey and I met this morning about staffing, so I'll be able to split that.
All right, yep. I just wanted to kind of start the thought process because we still have a week or two, but just so we all remember.
Tammy, I'm good, unless anyone has any specific questions.
Dan, I think you're the close. I have the video. I don't know if you want to speak first and then show the video, or vice versa.
Well, let me just, I said a lot at the very beginning, and I guess I just want to reiterate, guys, you are a good team. And we are about doing good work. This is not just our moment to shine, that's our destiny. We have created when I got the call today from the worker who said, was talking about the needs of the child, it reminded me of a call I got probably 15 years ago, where the worker introduced the child, and then there was like silence on the phone, and I said, hello. And they said, yeah. Usually when I say what I just told you, the people on the other end literally hang up. And so we made a promise to ourselves and to the kids and families and to our customers that we were not going to hang up the phone. Doesn't mean that we can do everything, but it does mean that we're committed to doing a better job at serving these kids and families who just have nothing. And so I'm grateful to all of you for your commitment, especially during this challenging time. But maybe the sad reality is there's always going to be challenging times for advocates. And it takes courageous and strong and intelligent people like yourselves to do all these things that we're doing. And so thank you for that. Go ahead and run that video. Thank you, Tammy.
I have way too many things open on my computer. I totally meant to close these. So sorry, guys. Hold on. Have it ready. Okay, here we go.
On TNT and TBS. Ernie Johnson.
When Nick Saban asks if you would come and speak to his football team, yes and no, not the answers. What time is the answer? And what I've had at Turner, I've been there for 32 years now. What I've got is a get-to job, not a got-to job. I get to do that. When you look across a room or you lock eyes with a teammate and you're wearing the same colors, that you get to. That's not a got to. See, the reason our show is successful is because nobody tries to make it about themselves. Chuck's never tried to do that. Shaq's never tried to do that, neither has Kenny. And God knows I'm not trying to. Nobody cares what I think about a basketball game. I'm just trying to get us from point A to point B to point C, and I'm trying to make these guys shine. It's about knowing your role. So what is your role? There's value in everybody. Everybody on our team at Turner, value in every position. When I think about value, I think about this kid right here. See, I'd come home from work one day and she said, you know what we need to do? She says, no, we need to go to Romania and adopt a kid. I said, no, hold on. I mean, we've got 2 children. We're the script. We're following the script. Don't be afraid to go unscripted, folks. Cheryl had seen a story on ABC News about these Romanian orphans being warehoused. Those with special needs were just forgotten. Let's give a kid a second chance. So we went unscripted. The nurse who handed this boy to her, you know what she said? She said, don't take this boy, he's no good. Can you imagine? And I said, bring him home. He gets diagnosed with muscular dystrophy, which a lot of kids don't make it out of their teens when you got that, because your muscles don't grow, they waste away. The coach, with less hair than me, a guy named Phil Beaulieu. Michael at this point is in high school. See, this coach knows what I know. He knows there's value in everybody. He said, I want him to be my 5-foot-tall impact player with no vertical leap. He said, because I see value in him. Because the day I met him, I followed him into his classroom. I had a conversation with him, and Michael doesn't communicate well. And he has a kind of a Rain Man kind of memory. So if he meets you, you tell him what you drive, he'll never forget it. So he has this great memory, but he also has this 3 words he loves to say, and you don't have to say it to him first, he just says, love you too. This is from a kid who didn't speak until he was 8. So Phil Beaulieu asked if he could be on his basketball team so he could teach his team 2 things. Maximum effort, for Michael to move any muscle in his body. Takes everything he's got. And he said, I want him to teach my team having a heart for others. And that heart for others runs deep, where you can lock eyes with the teammate and say, I'd do anything for you. I would do anything for you. He teaches all of his students how to say I love you in sign language. He says, and look, if you tip your index finger at the other person, it means love you too. So that on senior night, Michael goes out last, my wife and I follow his wheelchair out there. Like the other players, people are standing and applauding. But unlike the other players, I look up in the student section and they're standing like this. Because this kid, this Romanian orphan, and this coach from Indiana somehow got together in a gym in Brazelton, Georgia, and taught this huge school about love. Remember, don't take this boy, he's no good. Right. Value in everybody. When you step away from your agenda and notice that there are moments that can make somebody's life better. That's all I try to teach me and teach my kids. When you wake up in the morning, how am I going to make somebody else's life better today? And there's a team much bigger than this. There's a team that is trying to make somebody's day better. That's all of us. I was just going to wear this shirt today, and I thought it'd be a little informal just to show up in a t-shirt. but this is what's underneath. Be a better human. How are you going to do it? How are you going to do it? Love you too.
So let's all go do that, okay? Thank you.
Do I go this one?
What's that?
Thank you, guys.
Love you too.